Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, Sunday alcohol sales begin. A sports-themed fundraising competition goes statewide. An Indy real estate company details 4 downtown developments. An Indiana-made device aims to help the elderly and their families. A student-run marketing agency launches. A look at how pro basketball returned to Indianapolis. And our insiders take on the week's top stories. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. With the first weekend of Sunday carryout alcohol sales in Indiana behind us, the industry now looks forward. Bloomington-based Cardinal Spirits is growing its distribution in Indiana and beyond, thanks to some new partnerships as well as a new product. Co-founder Jeff Wusselich joined Inside Indiana Business Television host Gary Dick to talk about the growth and Sunday sales.
First of all, Sunday sales bill is signed. Your reaction?
Yeah, it's an amazing time, right? I think we're all really excited for Indiana to have some more modern alcohol laws and be able to consume on Sunday. As a producer, we're excited that Indiana Hoosiers will be able to consume our alcohol at many more locations throughout the state.
And because of that, you have just announced a new distribution deal, and part of it was prompted by this change in state law, meaning you needed to go with a new distributor.
Yeah, absolutely. We had been well served by our previous distributor for the past 3 years, but now as we're growing and we want to expand into more accounts, and especially as grocery stores and liquor stores are open on Sunday, we really needed a team to back us up there and get our products into all these locations. So we're happy to be working with Republic National Distributing Company, RNDC, here in Indiana, a great Indiana company and one of the largest distributors in the country. So we're really excited about that.
Cardinal Spirits, based in Bloomington, 3 years old.
That's right.
Right, a company, but your growth trajectory has been rather substantial. You've grown, expanded into 6 states, but this new distribution deal is going to give you a bigger footprint.
Right, and so we're always concerned about our home market and in Indiana for sure. It's where we started, and we want to make sure we're well supported here. And now we're also expanding onto the East Coast. We've opened up a relationship with a distributor there called Blueprint Brands. So we'll be in New York and Massachusetts and Rhode Island, Connecticut, and even our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where, of course, they could definitely use a drink, right?
Very good, very good. You are also expanding not only your geographic footprint, but adding products. And I think you're beginning production in the week ahead, just in a matter of hours, on a new product.
Yeah, we're really excited. We'll be launching Cardinal Mule cans. And so it's a canned cocktail. It's 2 of our most popular cocktails from our tasting room in Bloomington. It's a Moscow Mule and a Bramble Mule, which is it's really, really exciting flavored cocktail, and both of that with a Maui Mule as well. So we're excited. These are going to be in a can, 12-ounce cans. You can be able to grab them on a tailgate or on a boat, a football game, whatever it is, a lot easier to consume and allow people to try our spirits.
Again, the growth story, I think, of the alcohol industry in general in Indiana, the craft industry here is noteworthy. Your business in particular, again, as we've talked about, has continued to grow. And part of that is offering jobs, substantial jobs. And I know more news from Cardinal Spirits.
Yeah.
You're going to begin offering healthcare, right?
Yeah, we're super excited about this. Actually, in the tax break that happened at the end of last year, there was a carve out to craft distillers that kind of matched had parity with small breweries and wineries. It allowed us to pay less federal taxes, and we're taking that savings and investing in our employees and in Indiana, and going to be able to offer health insurance to our employees starting April 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really excited. We're working with Tilson HR on south side of Indianapolis, and they've been tremendous to help us get organized and work.
You interested in your take as we wrap up, Jeff, on the state of the alcohol industry, if you will, both the distilling business and breweries as well.
Yeah.
This is developing into a very entrepreneurial, growing industry in this state.
Yeah, and Indiana is well poised for this. Great agriculture, smart, educated consumers. So it is definitely growing in Indiana and throughout the country.
All right, Jeff Wusselich is the co-founder of Cardinal Spirits, announcing some big expansion plans. We'll be following the story. Jeff, as always, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right.
Still to come, a real estate company has big plans in downtown Indianapolis, and a young entrepreneur has a big idea to help care for the elderly. But first, a sports-themed fundraising organization has expanded with a new statewide version. The Brackets for Good competitions are underway in Indiana, with local nonprofits competing to raise the most money. But the good goes well beyond that. Brackets for Good co-founder and executive director Matt McIntyre came in studio to talk about the event.
Brackets for Good, an interesting concept, playing off obviously March Madness, but creating a fundraising vehicle, if you will, for nonprofits. Talk about how it started back in 2012.
Yeah, we really started basically by coming to the realization that so few people could name, more than 3 to 5 nonprofits. Mm-hmm. And this is a community just, littered with them. They're all over the place. In fact, the last metric I saw was over 7,500 in central Indiana alone. Mm-hmm. And so we decided, we had that realization during March Madness, realized, hey, how can we bring sort of the fun and excitement of sport to philanthropy and get really people activated and engaged?
Yeah, the impact has been phenomenal. Last year alone, you raised $3.6 million plus for nonprofits. Since 2012, almost $6.5 million as well. Talk about how it works and how nonprofits.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward, really, when you think about a competitive style fundraising tournament. So nonprofits compete head to head. They try and raise money through our platform. Yeah. $1 is worth 1 point. The nonprofit that raises the most advances. Nonprofits keep all the money they earn along the way, and more than the money to us, it's always about awareness. This is a opportunity for these nonprofits to have a marketing platform that they otherwise maybe don't have the resources for, necessarily the skills to execute, and that's where we come in. We're trying to really accelerate philanthropy here in Indiana.
And the impact has gone nationwide. You're in 13 cities or states. But importantly, this year, you're launching the first ever statewide Brackets for Good, right?
Yeah, that's right. So based on demand, really, we had enough interest from across the state that our presenting sponsor here in Indianapolis, Vallejo Financial Advisors, said, yep, we'll do another tournament. So now we have 4 regions across the state, plus central Indiana as well, all participating for 2 separate $10,000 prizes.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. This is not chump change. You're talking about $10,000 here, right?
Yeah, it's real money. I mean, I think our champion last year walked away with just shy of $100,000 raised throughout their whole tournament run. And again, the bigger things that came with that was more people understand what their organization does. There's long-term impact there that carries well beyond sort of the tournament itself.
Talk about your strategy from a business standpoint. You've expanded certainly around the country, expanding now in Indiana. How do you look at going forward?
Yeah, when we look at going forward, I mean, the amazing partners we have here in Indiana, Vallejo, Stanley Securities, Barnes & Thornburg, One America, these partners are Hoosiers at heart, right? And we, as Hoosiers, want to help. And as we help, we start to learn that CSR, corporate social responsibility, is no longer a nice to have, it's a must have. I mean, take an example from Dick's and Walmart's lowering making the age to buy a firearm 21 now. I mean, that's the opportunities on a real national scale, but we have that locally, and we're playing a small part in that.
And very quickly, these partners are key to the growth around the state, too.
Absolutely. I mean, more and more. This year, we've encouraged nonprofits an opportunity to team up with even more local companies, so we've got even more people participating.
The fields are set. Go to bfg.org. You can follow it and watch the competition play out during the month of March.
Later in the podcast, 15 Bloomington families are testing an Indiana-made medical device, and Butler students take charge of a marketing agency. But now, Indianapolis-based Litz & Eaton Development has detailed a $6 million residential project in downtown Indianapolis, which is one of 4 projects it plans for the area. Penn Row will include more than a dozen units, with construction slated to wrap up this summer. Litz real estate owner Brad Litz joined us to detail the projects.
Let's talk about it first. As I mentioned, 4 developments. Penn Row is the first. Give us a kind of a thumbnail of Penn Row and what it's all about.
So Penn Row is located in the Heron Morton neighborhood, 18th and Pennsylvania, and we're doing 13 row house style homes. So difference between row house and townhouse is that we've got backyards, private 2-car garages, and really lives more like a single family custom home. All of our units come with our new infinity door systems for really seamless indoor-outdoor living, and rooftop terraces with views of downtown, and really close proximity to a lot of the exciting things happening along 16th Street.
Yeah, as mentioned, you have 4 developments planned right now. The next, Liberty Place at Lockerbie Square.
Yes.
And these are upscale.
Yes,
right?
They are. And Lockerbie is one of those go-to neighborhoods that everything's there. So all of our amenities there. We're a block off Mass Ave. So we've got 12 units that are starting now and just signed a contract to start 6 later this year. So we're really excited about that, had a lot of interest, and looking forward to that as well.
You obviously like what you see in Indianapolis.
Absolutely.
Talk about the dynamics. You looked at Chicago and Nashville for this type of development, but chose to do it here?
I did. So I'm from here, born and raised here, several generations deep, and this is where I want to be. This is where I want my family to be, and this is where my passion is. So, Nashville and Chicago have a lot of people looking for the types of products that we're building, but as time went on, I really felt that Indianapolis could use it as well. So we just decided to stay in our home area and grow our product base from single family and smaller developments to include some of these larger downtown developments.
So much talk in Indianapolis, around the state, around the country, on livable, connected, walkable communities,
Yes.
and how important that is. How does that play into what you want to accomplish?
I mean, every one of the 4 new developments that we have, we've got one in Fall Creek, we've got one in Fletcher Place, we've one, Lockerbie, and then right here on Penn. People just want to be downtown. They want to be close to the action, the vibrancy. There's a lot going on in Indianapolis right now, and people want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of all the new restaurant openings. They want to be a part of being able to go to games. I mean, we have such a great downtown core, and then again, if you spread it out from there, there's just so many great things and new developments in Indianapolis and the surrounding areas that people just want to be a part of that vibrancy.
As we wrap up, as you look at around the state, there are pockets, whether it's Fort Wayne or Evansville, downtown excitement, vibrancy beginning to percolate. Can you see this type of development connecting to places?
Absolutely. I've spent some time in both cities recently, and it seems like they're both making progress forward, and they're going to see people want to move to those cities. They're going to see people that want to be downtown or be more connected and have amenity-driven lifestyles. So I see it as a very positive influence on those cities.
All right, Brad Litz, the owner at Litz Real Estate. 4 big developments coming to downtown Indianapolis. Brad, as always, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
You can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, we spotlight a student-run marketing agency and take a look at how pro basketball returned to Indianapolis. But first, 15 families in Bloomington are testing a device invented by a young entrepreneur and Indiana University alumnus. CareBrand is a safety bracelet that monitors the location of a senior with dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Founder and CEO Adam Sobel talked about the device with reporter Kylie Valletta in the Business of Health.
I've been following you for a couple of years now, so you've really reached a big turning point now. But before we get into what's new, tell us a quick introduction to CareBrand.
Sure. So right now there's about 5.3 million seniors living in the U.S. with dementia, and over 60% of them have this tendency to wander and to get lost. So CareBrand's a wearable technology that tracks real-time indoor and outdoor location without using Wi-Fi or cellular technology about their whereabouts.
And what I think is neat about it is it can be used in a person's home, but it's set up for other facilities too.
Yeah, so we're really looking at the whole continuum of care, all the way from the person at home to the nursing home to the assisted living and independent living. So it really can fit across everywhere.
And I always, think of the senior wearing the band, but on the other end of this product is an app. So tell us about how the app works.
So really, there's 2 stakeholders. Really, it's the senior with dementia, so we want to keep them safe and help them stay safe, as well as help the families and the caregivers have peace of mind. So families can look at their app, they can see where the person is, see some analytics about them. Do they get up in the morning? Do they go to breakfast? That kind of stuff. As well as see, did they go out of a predetermined zone and track them in order to get them back into safety.
And talk about in a facility that you can, watch more than one senior at a time for a nurse or someone who's watching over a lot of patients.
Sure. So what we keep hearing back from our pilot testers is that you can basically look at our map and you can see everybody's face on the map and see where everyone is all the time. So if you walk into the facility and you don't know where your mom is, you can look at the map and find her and directly go say hi to her.
Yeah, that's great. So tell us about the pilot studies. You have 3 going on right now.
Sure. So we have 2 up in Chicago, and then we have 1 down in Bloomington. The one in Bloomington is going very well. We have about 15 patients, people at home living with dementia, and their spouses that are working with CareBrand and the product and seeing it working.
And you mentioned this earlier, but I think you mentioned also that it's an important distinction to make, that this does not use Wi-Fi and it doesn't use cellular technology. So for those of us who aren't quite as techie as you, explain to us why that matters.
So the valuable part about the technology is that we can go anywhere and we don't have to rely on a facility or someone's home to have Wi-Fi, whereas a lot of people don't have that technology today. So we're using a new low-power wide area network technology, And this technology goes about 3 miles around someone's home, and then it builds off each other. So in Bloomington, we put up a few different gateways around the city, and we have a network, a care band network that goes around the entire city, which can track the person wherever they are.
Up to 3 miles.
Yes.
That's really impressive. And also you mentioned this really, at the end of the day, actually helps seniors stay independent longer.
So the valuable part, what we really want to do is help as many people as we can. There's a lot of seniors right now, and it's only going to increase in the next 20 years with the baby boomer population. So our goal is to help as many people as we can in the U.S. and around the world. The goal is to keep people at home as long as they can, keep them independent, aging in place, so they don't have to move out and go to a nursing home or to an assisted living facility. And typically with dementia, people are at home for a while, and then they exhibit this tendency to wander and to get lost, and that pushes people to have 24/7 care. So using this technology, they can stay in their home longer, have that monitoring and support, and provide the peace of mind to families.
And just a few seconds left after you wrap up these pilot studies, what's next?
So we're going to take all the feedback that we learned from the pilot studies, go back to our engineering, refine a few things, and then we'll be launching mid this summer.
All right, Adam, well, good luck. It's been fun to follow you. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here today.
Later in the podcast, a new book tells the story of pro basketball's return to Indianapolis, and our panel of insiders takes on the week's top stories. But now, a partnership between Butler University's business and communications schools is allowing students to run their own marketing and communications agency. Bright Blue aims to solve real-world problems for clients and provide strategic communication, branding, and creative services. CEO Clara Herrig and Program Manager Jen Truitt discussed the program in our Ion Education segment.
Unique concept here. This is really creating something at Butler, as I mentioned, modeled after a real agency, trying to give the students real life experience. Jen, talk about how it evolved or how it came up. It was just a discussion in the hallway, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was just a conversation in the lobby of the School of Business. They just discussed how they could bring together a cross-functional group of students to create this business and move it forward. So it's a partnership between the Lacey School of Business and the College of Communication, and they started exactly about a year ago.
Okay, marketing agency, talk about the model and really how it works.
Sure. We have 6 students, a CEO down through to even a creative director and a communications specialist. They all work together to really go through that whole sales cycle. They pitch to clients, they talk to them about what needs they have, and then they sell it in and do the work as well, execute it for them.
Clara, you're the CEO, so you're the boss, right? Talk about your experience and getting that real world experience and what it's meant to you.
Yeah, so currently I'm the CEO, but last semester I was actually the account executive for Bright Blue. So in that position, I was able to really manage my own client meetings, manage my own client interactions, as well as deliver the agency's deliverables to them, which was an experience I had not received in other internships. Now as a CEO, I'm able to manage a group of 6 student workers who are super passionate and willing to learn, so that's also an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, this is you want to create a real life agency. You have real life clients, and customers, if you will. You didn't work on this, but I know Roche was a client last year. Talk about how valuable that is from your perspective to be able to work with real companies in real life situations.
Yeah, so I'm able to work with real clients, which is something, as I said before, I haven't had the chance to do in other previous internships. And so I'm able to connect, grow my network through these clients, grow my business relationships, but also to show them the amount of work that as a senior in college I'm able to produce, which usually astonishes them.
Yeah, Jen, talk about that Roche experience. What are some of the things that the students, employees, if you will, at Bright Blue were able to do?
Sure, they did everything from one-on-one interviews to learn about the pros and cons of initiatives that they had going on. So they pulled that information together and really truly did a brand audit of the program and then presented that straight to the executives that were in charge of that program.
What from a student recruiting standpoint, I've got to imagine that a program like this, that really hands-on learning, has got to be very attractive when it comes to recruiting students to Butler.
Yeah, definitely. This is a collaboration, so you get to work with 2 different types of students. It's a paid internship, so it's on campus. It's really flexible, while at the same time getting that real world experience and allowing them to to get that professional experience before really being in the real world.
Okay, Claire, you're a senior, right? You're going to graduate in May, so here's your chance. What are you looking? What kind of a job opportunity are you looking for?
Yeah, so I'm actually, what Bright Blue's taught me is I'm looking for something where I'm working on a team. It's a flexible work environment and a diverse work environment, and somewhere where I can really have authority in my work and be able to put my own presence into my work.
Finance major?
Yes, finance and
major.
economics.
Okay, very good. Well, good luck to you, Clara and Jen, as we wrap up and you look at the future. Do you want more businesses out there to maybe connect with the program?
Definitely. We have a great client, reoccurring client called Tinley. They have been with us the last 2 semesters, but we'd love more clients that we can do small to large projects with and continue to build the brand for Bright Blue and become profitable.
All right, very good. Jen Truitt from Butler University, also Clara Herrig. Thank you both, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Still to come, our Insiders panel gives perspective on the week's top stories. But first, longtime Hoosier sports writer Mark Monteith is out with his second book. Reborn chronicles the return of pro basketball to Indianapolis and the formation of the Pacers franchise. He talked about the book in Inside Indiana Sports.
What prompted you to write this? This is a fascinating book. I think a lot of people would find it very interesting, intriguing. Lots of great pictures. What prompted you to write the book?
Well, I grew up in Indianapolis, and the ABA was formed when I was a 12-year-old kid, and I went to a lot of those games at the Coliseum, and that's the age when you're really rah-rah about sports, kind of an idealistic age. So I grew up with those seasons, and then later became a sports writer for a newspaper and met a lot of the people involved in those days and was really intrigued by the stories. So I just wanted to put that into a book form and tell people how you start a franchise and get it off the ground.
What I think is interesting in this book, you had access to documents about the formation of the team that a lot of people you certainly weren't able to see. So you've seen some things about those early formative years. What are some of your remembrances of those documents?
Yeah, I was very lucky. Chuck DeVoe, who was one of the founders of the franchise, gave me the personal files and scrapbooks of his brother John, who was the second team president. So I got minutes from meetings, salaries and everything, all kinds of notes that really added a lot of depth to the book. So, I've got a copy of the $30,000 check that the Pacers sent to officially become an ABA franchise, the draft, what guys were getting paid, what kind of controversies there were, that type of thing. So it was really fascinating to see that information.
And we were talking off camera, the team was actually, in a sense, birthed, if you will, in Lafayette.
Yes, there was an annual meeting or dinner at the country club up there, a big game dinner. And Bob Collins, the Star sports editor, would go up every year. And they were sitting around a table one night, a few Lafayette businessmen and a couple people from Indianapolis. And Collins is telling them how, there's this new league being formed and there's a meeting coming up in New York. And it only costs about $6,000 to put dibs on a franchise. And they probably had a few drinks, and they said, well, let's do it.
And the rest
so
is history.
Joe Bannon, the president of the bank at Lafayette, went, and there's pictures in the book of him, and put dibs on the franchise, and that was the very beginning. The next day in the Indianapolis newspapers were stories about Indianapolis back in pro basketball.
Yeah, looking at some great old footage there brings back a lot of great memories of a lot of great players. As you look back on it, and plus these were different times. I mean, the games were hustle bustle, fights on the floor, fights in the stands. There was all kinds of stuff going on.
Rowdy atmosphere.
Right.
The Coliseum atmosphere was like no other. You got smoke over the floor because you could smoke in there. It smelled a little bit from the state fair, all the barn animals that were in the Coliseum. Fans could throw stuff on the floor and probably not get kicked out. They would just clean up. If there was a fight, the players would not get kicked out. You just break it up and move on. So, it was a very much different atmosphere than what you see today.
Yeah, and the ability of the team to get Slick Leonard as their coach. He was not coaching at the time, right?
Very lucky. A lot of luck went into getting this thing off the ground. The second year they get off to a 1-7 start. They need a new coach. Well, what do you know? Slick Leonard's working for Herff Jones up in Kokomo selling graduation supplies. Let's go get him.
Yeah.
And they did, and he did it on a part-time basis, basically. So the Pacers got a Hall of Fame coach out of, Herff Jones. They got a Hall of Fame player in Roger Brown out of a factory in Dayton. They got a Hall of Fame center in Mel Daniels on an unbelievable trade for $100,000.
Yeah.
So they had a lot of luck in putting this thing together.
Yeah, and this really was a citywide effort to get this team created, launched. And I would argue that it's been a precursor for downtown development in a lot
No
of ways.
question,
Yeah.
no question. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce was behind this. The city government was behind this. The newspapers really got behind it to a degree that would not happen today.
Right.
And yes, and that the success of the Pacers kind of created the demand for a new facility, and Mayor Lugar stepped in and got Market Square Arena going, and that started redevelopment of downtown.
Yeah, very good. It is a great read. Mark, for folks who want to get the book, where should they go?
You can get it at any Barnes & Noble throughout the state of Indiana. It is on Amazon.com. It is on BarnesandNoble.com. I think any bookstore in the country can get it for you. I've got a distributor here in town, Cardinal Publishing Group, so they put it out to everybody, and it's widely available.
Very good. Reborn is a great read. A lot of you will love to see some of the old pictures and read about the formation of the Indiana Pacers. Mark Monteith, thanks very much. Congratulations on the book.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
And finally, our latest group of insiders offers perspective on the week's top stories. This week's panel includes Bose McKinney & Evans partner Victor Smith, Business Furniture CEO Mary Beth Oakes, and Vox Global Managing Director Mike Marker.
We'll begin with Sunday sales. Mike, I don't know why I'm looking at you on Sunday sales, but been talked about for years, been debated for years.
Yeah.
Finally, after all these years, Sunday sales, carry-out sales can happen effective this Sunday, March 4. Is it really going to? I mean, I think a lot of people like it, but in terms of the impact, do you think it'll be that great?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that it's happened. I think we'll see a little bit of impact. I mean, I saw the Chicago Tribune, their headline was "Border Booze Run Ends," right? So we've certainly had some Hoosiers who have crossed state borders to buy alcohol on Sundays. And so it'll be nice, to be convenience for them. They won't do that anymore. We'll capture those dollars and those the taxes that go with it. So I think we'll see a little bit of an impact there. It's great to see the compromise was made to get it done, though.
Beth, your take.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the liquor stores, right? Because they're going to have to change their model and have Sunday hours, employees. So I think that's going to be interesting.
It's one of the reasons they resisted. They're going to have to spend more money to stay open, many of them. So.
Now, of course, they still have, the ownership of the cold beer. So they've
franchise.
still got the advantage
Which
there.
that's a whole other thing that maybe next year they'll take that up. Economic development-wise, business-wise, this week, a big story in Carmel with Geico announcing another major expansion there, adding 1,500 jobs. I believe they have about 1,200 or so already at that Carmel location. And Victor, as you look at that, as a guy who used to run the economic development for the state, your takeaway there?
Well, it's big. It's a great nod to our continued momentum in the tech sector. A great 25% of those jobs are not, they're tech related. I mean, they're IT jobs. So it's a great nod to that. I think it just propels momentum.
Yeah, and we were talking about that in the social media lounge, is that because several hundred are IT jobs, it kind of gets to the fact that technology in Indianapolis, and not just the big names like Salesforce and those quote unquote tech companies. Here's a big tech investment.
It's not just Salesforce, it's not just Infosys, it's not just Genesys, or even outside of Indianapolis, the Ontario Systems of the world. But every business going forward, every piece has a tech sector. I mean, that is becoming so ingrained. It's part of the fabric of business going forward.
I think it's a nice success story and a nod to the state that works branding that you all did when you were there. I mean, Geico started at 250 jobs in 2013, 1,500 now, and by 2022, they're saying almost 3,000. So nice trajectory there. And one thing I was glad to see, the IEDC put $16 million in tax credits forward, so that's great. It's also good that it's performance-based. So those hires need to happen for those incentives to be paid out.
Yeah, Mike, I'll keep it with you as a Fort Wayne native. Electric Works, the big $440 million live, work, play development in Fort Wayne, seems to be gaining some traction and momentum each and every week. This week announcing that they're actively engaged there with more than 100 potential tenants on the retail or office side. As you look at that development and what it could mean for Fort Wayne.
Really transformational and part of a success story that's going on. I grew up there, have family there. It's really great to see with what's happened with Parkview Field, the riverfront, all the energy around downtown. And this Electric Works initiative is getting a lot of support. You're seeing a federal dollar supporting it, state dollar supporting. Now the city councils come in with a lot of approval here recently. I think people are seeing a great talent attraction driver, great for quality of life, and the team that's putting this together has a lot of energy behind it and a lot of interest, as you said, with companies, including education providers who want to come there and grow there.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned team. I mean, John Sampson with the Northeast Indiana Partnership Eric Doden with the Greater Fort Wayne Chamber. I mean, this is a perfect thing. They've been talking about talent attraction and retention. This is all about a talent play for them, and it is transformational. I mean, on the face of it, it's Electric Works because it's the old GE facility. So it's also a great shot in the arm for the community to take something that was out of service and is back and is now a focal point of a really positive story.
And a byproduct, again, of the Regional Cities Initiative, which is having impact already in Fort Wayne and South Bend and Evansville.
And just Marshall County announced something yesterday.
Moving forward, as we look at a big announcement from the Indiana University Research and Technology Corporation announcing the launch of a philanthropic venture fund, starting out as a $15 million endeavor, could grow to $50 million, so a significant play that I think has some unique aspects.
Well, I thought it was just wonderful because it really does give an opportunity that's unique to students, to faculty, to staff, to really focus on being an entrepreneur and focusing on innovation. And I think it's also a great opportunity for the IU alumni, really not just to give funding, but to really give their talent and give best practices and really encourage and mentor and develop that innovation mindset in the students that they can take with them, hopefully here in the state of Indiana when they leave IU. So I thought it was just huge, and I like the way that there's that partnership between philanthropy and innovation and entrepreneurialism. I think it's really strong.
Do you sense when you talk about innovation and that innovative entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial mindset, do you sense you deal with so much of that in the workplace, in the workspace, and how that's changed? You work with a lot of different companies who are changing the way they do business. Do you sense that again, that vibe, that mindset is changing in Indiana?
I do think the mindset is changing. I mean, I think every organization that I get to work with, that they do have a different mindset around innovation. It's all about innovation. It's about creativity. How do you leverage that creativity? So to get that mindset going, while students are still at school and their faculty is focused on it, it just, to me, it's a win-win, and it will, transform what's going to happen in the workplace next.
We always like to talk about sports on the Insiders, and this weekend, Indianapolis is once again, I believe it's for the 31st year, hosting the NFL Combine. So if you're downtown in Indianapolis, you'll see lots of players and owners and GMs and coaches walking around downtown Indianapolis. Indianapolis, Mike, I think most people would agree, has helped to create and to build the Combine into what it is. I mean, on multiple levels. Now some other cities want to grab it and maybe host it. Indianapolis has it through 2020. After that, we'll see what happens. Any way do you think Indianapolis loses this?
I think there's always a chance of that, and we have to be cognizant of that. And what I like to see, the changes here recently, we've had it for a long time. They've enjoyed coming here. It's been great for our city, but now this new fan experience has been brought to it. We saw it work with the Super Bowl, the energy that brought here. And so now fans can come to the convention center, enjoy that, get some access into Lucas Oil to see what's kind of going on behind the scenes there. I think it's important for us to keep it.
I think there's a well-being component to it that I really like too. It gives people a chance to have a healthy experience in their interaction with the Combine. So I think that's going to just make it stronger and stronger.
I'd say there's a whole ecosystem, I think, that provides that momentum. I mean, you have Indiana Sports Corp, we have Pacers, we've got Indy 11, Colts, the Indians, the Fuel. Ryan Vaughn and his work with the Indiana Sports Corp, and so it's not just the Combine either. It's really developing a great ecosystem that I think supports the. There's an amateur sports capital of the world for a reason, right?
And to that healthy component, one of the big advantages is IU Health and the medical testing. People don't think about that goes on in Indianapolis, and they perfected it in many respects.
Absolutely. We have some of the best sports docs here anywhere, and so that's a real plus.
All right, from sport, we've only got a minute left. From sports docs to sports scandal. Nice transition there. Mike, what are your take? The NCAA is based here, obviously, in Indianapolis. College basketball scandal making a lot of headlines, just beginning to leak out now. A lot of talk that everything's going to be blown up. There'll be massive changes. What does this hold for the NCAA?
We'll see. I mean, there's President Emmert has these new rules and regulations are going to roll out in April. And I think it's going to really be important to see what those are, because you have a lot of head coaches running organizations who are under a lot of pressure to win, and sometimes they don't always make the right decisions, and now shoes are dropping with investigations. So those rules will matter.
Yeah. Do you think this really comes out before March Madness, or do you think it'll be after?
Oh, I would bet after.
I think it's going to be after. The
Do you?
timing could just be a huge distraction and not necessary.
It would
so.
affect my brackets too.
Yes.
So I don't want to see that. Mike Marker, Mary Beth Oakes, Victor Smith, thank you one and all for being on the Insiders.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.